Well, folks, hello, and welcome to the PGL Lobbycast. This is episode number 369, and you are flying solo with me again this week. My name is Erin, and I'm here to bring you some news, some watches, a few little things like that. So let's just dive right in there and see what happened this week. I think I'm going to start out with some of the sadder news. We had a couple of losses I wanted to talk about this week. The first one being comedian Gary Shandling. Apparently passed away at the age of 66. They initially weren't saying what happened, but apparently it was a heart attack at his house. So that was a little unexpected. Gary Shandling has been a name on the comedy scene for a very, very long time. And you know, he was a stand-up comic. He had TV shows. He was a host, so he was quite multifaceted. And I think really one of the tragic things about his passing, I was about to phrase that really poorly. I'm sorry. There's never a good time to drop dead of a heart attack, but the adding to the tragedy of his passing, I think is a better way to put it, is I think he was really finding a new generation of a new audience and a new generation. He had, starring roles in movies like Captain America, Winter Soldier. So we were really starting to see him in some new acting roles. So I'm really sorry that we weren't going to see what else was going to happen in his immediate future. I'll be the first to say that as far as his earlier comedy in the 80s and 90s goes, I wasn't a huge fan. I guess I just didn't get it. I didn't dislike him. But one of the things a couple of things I did like about him was he was very active with a lot of charities, things like Comic Relief, just to name one. And he also was, had took some bold steps on his own TV shows. I believe it was the Larry Sanders Show, where you had him putting an openly gay character on the show, which at that time was done occasionally, but not quite that openly. And he also was not a stereotypical homosexual individual, which was very common, unfortunately, at that time. He was just a man who just happened to be gay, and it was commented on occasionally, but not often. And I really, really admired him for that. So great comedian, a great actor. You'll be missed, sir. Now, the other death that I really did want to talk about, for those of you that are fans of A Tribe Called Quest, of course, we have Malik Taylor's passing at the age of 45. I looked it up just before the show came on, and I guess now they're saying it was complications of diabetes. Might talk about this a little bit more next week. Jeff is a huge fan, and that was known to some people that he was having diabetes problems. He'd had a kidney transplant, but it was still a bit unexpected for a lot of people. So a couple of losses this week. Very sorry for the friends and family, and sorry for those of us that won't get to see what they had artistically in their futures and in our futures. Now, on a similar note, unfortunately, we'll get the sad stuff out of the way first. I promise there's actually some happier stuff coming up after this. There was some news about Brittany Murphy. Brittany Murphy passed away a couple years ago. Initially, they said that it was pneumonia, and then they were saying there might be some heavy metals poisoning happening. And now they're saying they might reopen the death investigation. Some of you may know, not only did Brittany Murphy pass away at a very young age, but her husband also passed away, apparently from similar causes, a few months later. So that may be part of the reason that they're reopening the death investigation. Right now, they're kind of keeping why this is happening fairly close to the vest. If any of you are interested, actually, the TV show Autopsy, The Last Days of, recently did an episode about Brittany Murphy's death, and he actually came to the conclusion that it was probably an unfortunate conjunction of she was very ill. She did have pneumonia, walking pneumonia, basically, and she was living in a house that was infested with mold and not getting out very often. So unfortunately, that may have been a big contributor to the situation, and that is basically what they found caused her death. It was similar to what happened to Jim Henson, where had he gone to the doctor, he probably would have been saved. Unfortunately, it looks like the same thing happened to her, but apparently there's some doubts about that if the death investigation is being reopened. So we'll keep you up to date on that as we hear anything. Now, on to happier things. I have some happier notes here in my phone, so we will move on to those. If any of you haven't seen, we're all aware of Hugh Jackman, who he is. We've got Wolverine. We've got so many things of, like that, especially in, a geek show like this. Big fans of Hugh Jackman, but apparently he became a superhero in real life this week, pulling his 15-year-old son and a few other people out of riptides that were threatening to pull them under in Australia. So good on you, Mr. Jackman, for diving in there and getting the job done like the hero that you apparently actually are in real life as well. Now, those of you who grew up in the 90s, here's another little thing I saw just a few hours ago. Probably familiar if you grew up in the 90s. Now, this wasn't necessarily apply to me, but I was still somewhat aware of this show on a more peripheral basis. But you may have been a fan of various Nickelodeon shows like All That, Hey Arnold, Monsters, and a lot of those are being resurrected. We're kind of starting into a 90s nostalgia period, I think, and a lot of those are being resurrected on a channel that Nickelodeon is calling this, or a show that Nickelodeon is calling The Splat, where you can see a lot of those reruns. Some of them are even getting reboots, and they just announced, I believe earlier today, that All That, the teenage sketch show, it was actually fairly entertaining, even for somebody of my age. I was an adult by the time that hit, but they are actually releasing a new set of sketches or a movie in April. They got most of the original cast back, so those of you that grew up with the hijinks at Good Burger will have some new things to look forward to. Well, there you are. And I think we need to talk about the release of the Batman Superman movie that happened this week. I've not seen it. I decided not to see it in the theaters largely because Jesse Eisenberg and the previews alone were more annoying than Donald Trump at a sensitivity seminar. And I couldn't even barely handle him in the previews, much less what was going on in the, for 2 hours. I was pretty sure that wasn't going to work for me. And I've gotten a lot of backup on that. Unfortunately, the people that I've talked to that have seen it said that they're not sure what he thought he was doing. Maybe he thought Heath Ledger as the Joker kind of level thing was happening, but not so much. Getting kind of mixed reviews. And if you guys haven't tuned into the Sad Affleck clip that's floating around out there, I highly recommend it. I laughed out loud. My friend and yours, Sam, showed it to me earlier today, and it is some good stuff. Wow. Yeah. I have to admit that there's a very small petty part of me that's hoping that Ben Affleck is chuckling to himself right now, because he got so much unnecessary shit about whether or not he was going to be able to play Batman. And all the reviews are saying that he did a great job, that he acquitted himself very well, that he is Batman, that he did fantastically. But it's, maybe the plot that didn't hold up very well. All right, Jeff just sent me a thing saying, hey, you be nice about Batman versus Superman. And I just said that I haven't seen it. I'm not taking back anything I said about Jesse Eisenberg. Kiss it, okay? How could you even handle that for 2 hours? I couldn't even get through that for 2 minutes. If you could, you're a better person than me. I fully admit it. I've actually heard also good things about Wonder Woman, that for what she had to work with, she was great. It was just kind of a problem of the rest of the movie being a little ridiculous. So apparently the actors, other than Jesse, were all right. They just didn't have a lot to work with script-wise. So perhaps we can discuss that next week, since apparently Jeff is taking umbrage with what I'm saying, and he can't do a thing about it because he's not here. Love you. I'm ignoring that. He's still sending me texts. But that's about it for the news this week. So let's move on to some watches. Now, you see this? I'm actually turning my phone down so I don't get any more hate from the people that really liked Batman versus Superman. I promise I'll go see it. No, actually, I'm not going to go see it. I will see it at home. I promise I will see it at home when I can hit mute whenever Jesse's on screen. How about that? I will start out with what you watching. I am keeping up with Face Off. We are to the semifinals. We're down to the final 4 contestants, so it'll be interesting to see who makes it into the finals. We will figure that out this coming Wednesday. I'm also caught up on Outrageous Acts of Science, because who doesn't love a show where they teach you crazy things about, science, from, airborne, blowing things up. They cover the whole thing in that show and give you some really good explanations for anything that you probably have seen on the internet and had questions about. So we appreciate them. I'm also still currently on my British comedy bender, going for. Yeah, okay. After Jeff telling me to be nice about Batman versus Superman, he actually just admitted that he hasn't seen it. So I apparently don't have to take back anything I just said. But anyway, yeah, I'm still on my British comedy bender. And next week, as far as what you watchings go, I will actually be able to give you a little bit of an update on Noel Fielding Live, since that is coming up in my life Wednesday. So yay. Looking forward to that. As far as what you're listening to, I've actually a lot of shuffle all. I am still really, really enjoying the new music group, The Struts. We talked about them last week. If you haven't looked them up, I highly suggest you do it. I'm a big fan of Queen and the Darkness and David Bowie, so that's just right up my alley, and AC/DC and a lot of those things as well. So they're doing some interesting things, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of longevity they have. Now, as far as podcasts go, I'm listening to crack.com. They had a few good, little 4-minute, 5-minute clips on there this week. I will let you log on and pick which ones that you think suit you the best. And of course, as usual, they're usually pretty entertaining. You get good information and you also get a chuckle out of it. So always recommend crack.com. They're good for what you're reading too, which is sadly a category we don't generally have on this show. Let's see. Now, as far as playing, I'm still working on alternate endings to The Room 3. Yay! I can't tell you how happy alternate endings make me. Just that little nitpicky part of me, I guess, that really enjoys just playing the shit out of the good stuff. And as far as playing good stuff, I've gotten back into Fallout. The downloadable content came out this week, and it's really good so far. All I'll say is make sure you have your Silver Shroud outfit. So no spoilers here other than that. And let's see, I'm still working on White Knight. And I got to be honest with you, as interesting as it looks, with the gameplay as slow and draggy as it is, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to stick with it a lot longer, which is a shame because it's a very atmospheric game. And it looks really interesting. The kind of negative aspect as far as colors go of the kind of inverted black and white palette that they decided to go with is really interesting. I'm enjoying so many things about it, and the storyline is keeping me engaged, but it has a very draggy movement to it that is a little challenging. I'm trying to think, for those of you that might have played the Fatal Frame games back in the day, it's a very similar feel to it, where no matter what kind of peril your character's in, apparently a slow shuffle is all they're really capable of. It's a strange choice to make, especially in a survival horror type game, but that's kind of what they did. Now, I managed to drag myself through 2 Fatal Frame games, so perhaps I'll be able to get through this. You never know. But check it out. It is an arcade game. It is interesting. If you like survival horror, that's really the only bad thing I can say about it. It is a fascinating game otherwise. So see if you like it, and, maybe send me some comments about maybe different ways you handled it. I'd be interested to hear from anybody else that's looked at it. So as far as incoming comments go and my own comments, I think that is all I've really got this week. Hopefully there'll be a couple more of us next week. Maybe, Jeff is in New Mexico this week. Hi, Melinda. Hi, Jeff. And, maybe we can even get Brick back. Brick is going with me to see Noel Fielding. Maybe we can get him back to give you a little review about what that crazy, magnificent British bastard is like in person. So love you all. Stay safe. And this is Erin coming at you from underneath about 2 feet of snow in Aurora, Colorado. Y'all have a good, safe week, okay? Have fun. See you later.